Okay, so what we're going to talk about now, this is not, it's part of example 5, but it's not part of example 5. It's something that'll lead into example number 5. So we're going to talk about special right triangles. So whenever Mr. Adams writes down RT, that usually means right. And then another thing I'll do, did you learn this in geometry? Your math teacher will write a triangle instead of spelling out the word triangle. Yeah, okay. So we're going to talk about special right triangles. So there's two of them. One is called the 45-45. So if you draw a right triangle, a perfectly drawn right triangle, there's the 45-45. Now I gave you guys a video to take notes on while I was gone. It goes in great detail. It's posted in Canvas if you have questions. But this angle is 90 degrees, right? So this one's 90. Now, if this one right here is 45 degrees, and they have to add up to 180, what is this one going to be? 45, right? So we call this one the 45-45, or you could just call it the 45. And do you know another name for that? What type of triangle is a 45-45 triangle? Yeah, it's an isosceles. This thing is. So it's an isosceles triangle. Now, an isosceles triangle means that because this angle is congruent with this angle, then this length is congruent with this length. Okay? And so in the video, what I said, okay, well, do we know what this length is? No. We'll call it X. Do we know what this one is? Well, it has to be the same because it's an isosceles triangle. So we'll call this one X. So remember, what do we call this one that's across from the 90 degree? Hypotenuse. So if I were to fill out A squared plus B squared equals C squared, we're really solving for C, right? So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say, let's make this A. So that would be X squared plus, this would be B. That would be X squared equals C squared. And so if we scroll down, this would be 2x squared equals C squared. Then what we need to do is we need to take the square root. But I'm going to do something a little tricky. I'm going to take the square root of this, and I'm going to take the square root of this. That's a legal move. And then I'm going to take the square root of this. Now, when I do all that, I actually have X, right? And the square root of 2. Now, remember, when you take the square root of something, it's usually plus or minus, but we're going to focus on the positive. So this whole thing just becomes, I've seen it written two ways. One way is you could just say the square root of 2. What's the square root of X squared? X. And then what's the square root of C squared? Just C. And so you could write that a couple of different ways. You could just say the square root of 2 times X. Now, what I like to do, and I've learned this from one of my Brazilian students, is you can put a little tail on your square root. Now, when you put a little tail on the radical symbol, it separates the symbol. Okay? And that way you know that we're only taking the square root of the 2. It's not the square root of the 2 and the X. That's probably the first time any of you guys have seen it. But I had a student of mine, she was from Brazil, and she wrote that. I was like, what are you doing? She was like, that's how we do it in Brazil. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty smart. So I've been doing it ever since. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this one? So what we're saying is the ratio of this is X root 2x. Those are the ratios. So when we go to do a 45, 45, and we plug the numbers in, that's what it is. Now, if I were to plug in 1 for x, I would get something like this. I would get a 45, 45 triangle where this would be 1, 1, the square root of 2. And this would be 45, and this would be 45. Does that make sense? All right. Now the other special triangle, and where are we at on time? Wait, today is Thursday. Oh yeah, we don't have a lot of time.